name is Ryan Vesey. I'm an Economic Development Specialist with Greater Mankato Growth.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Yvonne Caribou. I'm the Director for the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Minnesota State University's Mankato's College of Business.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Hansen. I am co-owner of Functional Chiropractic Rehab, and I help out 1 Million Cups with our coaching.
And after that, we would like to thank our sponsors. We are supported by Minnesota State University Mankato, Pinnacle Business Traction, which provides books for all of our presenters, Pioneer Bank, Dunkin' Donuts, Connect Business Magazine, and the Mogwai Collaborative. So thank you to all of those sponsors. The mission of 1 Million Cups is to make sure that everyone has the access to the education they need to be successful in their businesses. As part of that mission, we follow a couple of core principles. First, these are presentations and not pitches. Our goal isn't to sell the business. The goal is to share your story, share your successes, and share your challenges so that people can learn about your business and they can help you with those challenges. As part of those goals, we make sure that this is about connections and not networking. Now, we view networking as about how many people you know. Connections is about how well you know them. That's why we have 6-minute presentations followed by a 20-minute Q&A period so that we can get to know our presenters better and can help them out with their challenges. This is run by volunteer community organizers, and it is for the community, but the community doesn't just mean Mankato. Anyone in the entire greater Mankato region, if you have any association with Mankato, if you shop here, if you like Mankato, you're free to come and present or join our meetings. Finally, it's our goal to be radically and intentionally inclusive. We do have a couple of polls, and if you joined us in the audience, feel free to respond to the poll in chat here. If you're joining us via Facebook, note in Facebook your response to the poll. First, is this your first time attending a 1 Million Cups event? Second, do you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur? And there's 3 options now. Yes, you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur. No, you don't. Or that you're working on a business idea and that you hope to become an entrepreneur in the future. It looks like we have 100% of the people that are here today have been to a 1 Million Cups event before. So it's good to have you all back. Thank you all for joining us again. Half of the attendees consider themselves to be an entrepreneur, and it looks like 1 person is working on a future business idea. So we want to congratulate you and good luck on that. And we look forward to working with you to help make that happen. We will move forward to our presenter today, which is Katie with HomeFAX.
Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me okay. All right, well, I will go ahead and share my screen. HomeFAX, which is a, wow, I skipped ahead. An innovative way to record your home maintenance, and we're hoping that we can use that information to educate future homeowners as well as help them upkeep property. So right now, when you buy a house, it's kind of a big unknown box. You have no idea what the previous owner did. Unfortunately, when I bought my house, there was also the previous owner was big into DIY, and I really wish I would have known before I bought the house how much DIY the guy did, because it costed me a lot of money to fix what he tried to do. So just having some type of documentation about the house, some type of transparency, as new Gen Zers and millennials are getting into the home ownership market, you don't know what you don't know. So you can't Google how to, that I need to empty my water heater once a year as maintenance. How was I supposed to know that? Nobody told me that. Even when I get an inspection, they don't necessarily tell you all the ways to maintain the existing items in your house. So just looking for that user guide that walks you through, hey, we know what appliances you have in your house. This is how you maintain them. And we can also educate buyers a little bit more. So the goal of HomeFAX is that you can ditch your paper. Not only do people sell their houses like the one I got where you got no documentation, but people also give you a giant shoebox full of receipts and warranty information and user guides, and you have no idea what's in there. And most people don't take the time to go through it. But with HomeFAX, you can get all of the information electronically, sort through it, and when you're at the store, you can see what furnace filters you need because they're on sale and you want to buy some. And you don't have to go back through the picture you took 3 years ago of your furnace filter to figure out what size it is. So we're really trying to provide a way, to make information available at your fingertips and just kind of bring home ownership into the 22nd century. So how it works is we have an app. We also have a website. If you have a receipt or some warranty information or some product booklets, you can take a picture of it and then it saves it in the app, and it stores how much you spent on maintaining your home every year or remodeling your home. It can keep track of your appliances and if they have any active warranties on them. So that's kind of the gist of the app. We are working with realtors, so we have different kind of revenue streams where realtors can have the app customized to show their information. And so we give them kind of a branded app. And then we have a listing report. So when a realtor goes to list your house, or if you're doing for sale by owner, you can pay $50 and you get this nice report that you can leave at your house. So when people come to look at your house, they see all of the information about it. Hopefully you're able to use that maintenance in your favor and say, hey, you should pay me more money because look at how well I've maintained this place. Like, it's spick and span. And then the last thing is we can transfer data from the seller to the buyer. So then the seller gets all of the information. They get all of the pictures of your receipts. They get all of your warranty information. So it has the potential to have a ton of information about the house, but it's all dependent on the homeowner entering it. And then we're verifying the information by them taking pictures of their receipts. So we know that they're not just making stuff up too. So our marketing plan is that realtors basically are the ones that are working with home buyers and sellers. So the realtors I've talked to, they want their sellers as part of their listing agreement to go ahead and create their HomeFAX profile and then upload all their receipts. And then it's just a way to make that house stand out more for that realtor and hopefully get more competition and offers on that house because of the transparency of the data. And then, of course, people can tell their friends, and that's kind of how it spreads. It's just a team of 3 of us. We've got an app developer, the guy who does everything else, and then me. And that's pretty much it for HomeFAX. What I'm looking for from you guys is kind of thoughts on the slides. Do you kind of get what the product does? Do you understand kind of what we're trying to do? And then, of course, if you know any realtors who might be interested in learning about the product, would be awesome. And then I made a short little video that I might ask for your feedback on if we have enough time.
Hey, Katie, why don't we go ahead right now and do that marketing video? Now, I don't know if you checked the boxes when you went to share your screen, but there is the optimized for video. Awesome. Let's go ahead and watch that right now, and then we can include it as we get into discussion.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Um, I'll open it up for questions. If you have a question, we've got a smaller group today. So if you've joined us on Facebook Live, and I'll put a note in the comments, feel free to note your questions in the comments. We will read them out loud. Otherwise, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask your question of Katie. Now, Katie, one of the comments that you had was, does your presentation adequately present your product? So I just wanted to give my summary of what I believe your product is used for and what it does, just to make sure that's accurate, and hopefully that helps in terms of does your presentation, adequately represent what you have. So my understanding based on your presentation is that HomeFAX is an app for existing homeowners. The purpose of HomeFAX is that so that existing homeowners can easily document the work that they're doing to either maintain or improve their homes, so that they can provide that document to a potential buyer once it becomes time for them to buy their home. Is that a good description?
That was perfect.
Awesome. Now, one thing that you mentioned as you were going through your presentation, and just as a bit of feedback, that I wasn't certain if your app did or not until you got to the video, was did it have those tips and tricks or reminders on when to do some maintenance? Because you just said something earlier as we got started about letting the water or clearing out your water heater once a year. Well, my water heater is hitting the 1 year mark and I've never heard of that. So these tips and reminders, and actually I probably went the first couple of months not changing my air filter, not realizing you had to change that every 3 months. So if there's tips and reminders in the app, that would make it very useful for me. So I think that's a strong selling point.
I agree with you. We just haven't fully developed that part yet. So
Okay.
I haven't focused on it too hard. But our goal is that you get push notifications that say it's time to change your filter. And then eventually it will have a link to maybe Amazon or something that you can buy your filter. So your filter shows up in 2 days, you record that you did it, and now you have all of that information.
Well,
Awesome.
Katie, it's Bobby Drangler here from Citizens Voices, and I'm an old audio-visual guy. I've had a number of recording studios. So what I pay attention to is mixing and how well the voice comes out when you're singing a song compared to the bass player or the guitar player. So I watched your video, and I'm saying to myself, where's the audio track? That's what I would be number one, audio visual. So you should, if you had a narration go along with what you're seeing on the screen, that would be perfect. Now, as far as when you get done with that and you put in an audio track along, a descriptive audio track to your visual, then to feel free to start posting that everywhere. As many places, Vimeo, YouTube, you name it, Instagram, you name it. Do a little 10-second version or a 15-second version, a 30-second version, a 60-second version, and then give it your own, do a half-hour version, give your own personal take on everything. And then you will have a package put together for whatever media you're going to put it out to. But yeah, it's a excellent start, and that's the way to go.
Thank you.
Good luck. You bet.
Yeah, I saw that Lindsay has some feedback.
Hey, I think it's a great idea. I liked your video. One thing I was thinking about, like the screenshots you had in the video were like really good, and like you could see the detail of the app. And I feel like you could probably use that more in the presentation. Like your screenshots were so small, and so like maybe more slides, even though that sometimes doesn't make as much sense, but like more slides, bigger graphics, so you can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And then, go ahead.
presentation and add more of what the app actually looks like.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like it looks more like the video. I got like, oh, this is a sleek design, and the presentation. I thought, oh, like I don't know if I quite see it. You know, it looks more like an idea versus like the video made me feel like it's ready to go.
Gotcha.
And then I saw in the video you talked about taxes, and I was like, that I immediately thought about that because I work from home, and so I try to keep hold of my like home maintenance and stuff like to deduct that. So I think that like just your target audience, you know, realtors, I think, you know, business owners who work from home would love this because it just like at tax time, it's just so much less work to go through all those. And I'm not moving, but I'm going to use it every year to make my tax time like less of a headache.
Right.
And then I was thinking about like, you know, you've got the turnover like of someone buying a house, but if the previous owner doesn't have it, you know, how do you get the new homeowners to get it? And I was thinking about, you know, when you buy, maybe you already thought of this, but when you buy a new house, you get that welcome packet from the chamber, you know? And so maybe you could have like a little like a leaflet in there that says like a discount, like new homers get, I don't know.
Well, it's a free app, so
Oh, yeah.
just for you.
Yeah. I guess it's just, you get the money when you're using it so yeah, maybe it's just an awareness package then.
Yeah. That's a good idea though.
And then my last thing was, I wasn't sure what the video, the last slide, I wasn't sure what those words said. Was it claim your house or?
Yeah, so we have it that you can search for your house in the app. And if it hasn't, you know, we only have like 3 years of data. So if your house was bought or sold before then we don't have it. So you can manually add your house, but basically you have to like say this is my house before you can attach pictures to it.
Oh,
if
okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I can look at that wording again and see if it's something, maybe a different word instead of claim.
Well, I don't know if it was just not long enough for me to read it or if it was just like, if it was the kind of question of like claim, like, I don't know. I'm not sure which one it was, but maybe a little bit longer too.
Okay.
That's it. That's that for me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Leah has her hand raised.
Hi, Katie. I think you might have just answered this, but so the average user, there's no cost to them. It's really the cost structure comes in as you're trying to transfer the information. So that was one question I had. I think maybe that's just not clear, is that your typical user, it's a free app for that purpose. And then my question around, you mentioned contractors and or those that might do their own work. Is that still just uploading a receipt? Because if you're doing it yourself, again, there's that level of if they should be doing it themselves. So I don't know if there's ways to integrate a building permit or a building inspection that shows that it actually passed. Again, knowing this is the end user putting it up there, it has to be kind of on their own honesty. But that was just something, as if you're able to access city data, because they're typically ones that are issuing the permit, or again through those contractors that might have licenses or something like that.
Definitely. Thanks.
Hey, Katie, I downloaded your app and have been playing with it while I've been listening to everybody. So I have a few tech notes that I'll send you, but there's a couple of little things that aren't very smooth for a brand new user. Like when I first downloaded it, the very first thing you would want them to do is to sign up. But instead, I'm presented with a map of a bunch of houses in the Twin Cities and no sign up. And when I do find the sign up and I click on it, it immediately gives me error messages.
Oh, wow.
The error messages are like, you know, that you didn't put in an email and stuff yet, but I just got here and I'm about to sign up. So there's little glitches like that that are easily fixed.
Yeah.
That'll smooth things out for your brand new user.
So we used to have it that when you first logged in or opened the app, you had to sign up or log in. And then Apple said that because we have MLS data, they think MLS data should be public data and it shouldn't be hidden behind a login. So we said that we have a contract with the MLS and that the contract says that we have to put in certain safeguards to protect MLS data.
Sure.
And Apple said, well, we're not going to publish your app unless you change it.
Well, then maybe it's showing the map, but having a pop-up or a button that says get started, right? Just something that here's the map, but then here's how I get started. Because when you download the thing for the first time, you're like, okay, so what do I do with this thing?
Exactly.
You want to guide your user along a little bit more, take them by the hand.
Yeah.
We were
talking about that the other day. So they're in the middle of a sprint right now where they're making a, where when you go into an app and it'll have an info screen and it will say next, and then it lets you start using the app.
Yeah.
So we're working on that part.
Good. The other little note is when you click on, like, I'm in the app now and I'm logged in and I've got a username and password and I've verified. If I click on my home in the lower right hand, it says you have not yet claimed a home.
Yep.
That's all.
No way to get to how to claim.
How do I claim my home? I don't know. There's no help link or anything. So there's just like little things like that I think could be smoothed out. It's a neat looking app. I'm excited to play around with it some more.
Awesome. So just so you know, these are all things that are we call it our backlog of.
Yeah. You're doing Agile. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how you claim a house right now is in the upper part, it says type address, and that's where you search for your house, and then it has you can't find it and you can manually add it. But I agree with you 100%. When people say I just downloaded your app, I'm like, oh no. Still not perfect.
Hey, but that's good. You're getting it out there, like a good entrepreneur, you're getting it out there, you're getting feedback, just quickly pivoting and, making those changes will get you on track.
Yeah, I agree.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Hey, Katie, I wanted to jump in and just say, I strongly agree with Bobby's comment on that video. And it might be good to have two versions. I don't know if Bobby would agree, but I think sometimes, something that is, just that audio in the back, those can work well for certain mediums. But having somebody talk over and explain the usage as that's going, I think could be very beneficial. One of the, just the thoughts on I think it's really good to look at realtors as your referral partners. I was going to ask, what are your other strategies to get this out to existing homeowners? And the reason I ask that is I bought a house that needs work, right? And needed and still needs work. And I'm putting money into my house, and I see this as being very valuable to me. Not only so I could give someone the HomeFAX, but also so that I can remember and I can talk to a future realtor if I'm selling this, or if I'm renting my house, I can talk to potential renters and I can tell them, this is all of the work that I did on this house, and I've got it recorded, and I think it would be very valuable. Are you doing, how are you getting it out to people like me that have already bought a house?
So we're doing it kind of slowly. So we just launched the app in the beginning of May, and obviously we have some technical things that we're still ironing out. So currently I've just been talking more with entrepreneurs about hey, this is our feedback. We've been talking to a couple realtors and brokers in the Twin Cities areas just about their feedback from a realtor side. And since the market is so hot right now that it's a really big competition for realtors to interact. And so they're always looking for the thing that sets them apart. And so they've talked about when they're helping a home buyer at closing, they say, download this app right now before we leave the closing office. It's free. Just start keeping track of what you're doing. And then how we get current. So, that's the easiest way to market, because we don't have to pay realtors to say, hey, download our app. But once we kind of get it going, and we have a good testing portion of, we're working with 5 core realtors in the Twin Cities they haven't started yet because obviously the app isn't to a place where I really want a ton of people downloading it. But I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks that it's at that place, and then those realtors are going to start basically our pilot project of getting their clients to use it. And then after that, I met with the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, and they think that our app is good enough to help realtors. Realtors are struggling with when they show up because there's so much home data out there because of Zillow and different places. Realtors are saying that when they show up to a listing with a Gen Z person, that person knows more than the realtor does. And they're getting in, and the Gen Z person's like, why am I paying you? I don't need you. I can do this on my own. And so realtors need something that can help them. So with the realtor listing report, they can say, hey, this roof was replaced exactly 3 years and 58 days ago. Or these appliances, they don't look new, they are new, and they still have warranties on them. So don't worry about buying extra warranties because there's already warranties on them. I got a new water filtration system last summer, and they said, oh, this is a lifetime warranty. And I was like, you mean my lifetime or the house's lifetime? Like if I buy it or someone else buys it, oh, it goes with the buyer. They get it too. And I'm like, you're counting on me not telling the new buyer that there's a lifetime warranty on it. So like, there's so many ways that we can use it, and especially with contractors and home builders, instead of giving people these big packets of data or nothing at all, then they can put it in the app for them and just transfer it to them. So there's a couple different ways that, and then obviously eventually we're going to do Facebook and Google. And so the little videos are helpful, as Bobby said, doing like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just so, it's kind of free advertising wherever you put it. So between the MLSs that are willing to take us on as a core service and make it so all of the realtors in the state know about it, that's like a huge way to go, I guess you could say. And then it kind of just turns, so I don't have like a super duper strong marketing plan after I'm done with realtors to get current homeowners other than social media. But I don't know if you guys have any suggestions of, I like the idea of the getting together with the chamber and having some type of little paper flyer or something in there.
Erin Barry has her hand raised, and then it looks like Thomas Gilbertson has something to add after Erin.
Yeah, hi, Katie. I think this project sounds really great, and I am on board with the comments about existing homeowners because I definitely don't know the maintenance that I'm supposed to do and when to do it. And I also came into a home like you where there was a lot of do-it-yourself, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't like this, So one suggestion just popped into my head right now thinking about this, and I think this would be a future add-on. But, if you were able to link up, like, okay, do you know what? I need an electrician. And maybe I can click on this link and, hey, local electricians near me or plumbers or whatever. The suggestion that I had before that was, I'm not sure if you would want to go down this road or not, but for expansion, like outdoor work. Like even, draining the spigots is definitely home, and not outdoor. But even like trees and shrubs, it could almost be a whole different product, oh, you should do this and you should do this. And this is what I planted, because you save those little things, but then where do they go? Right. And then, so another thing that just popped into my head, I just recently painted a whole bunch of rooms in my home. And I get to the last room I'm painting, which is like the 4th or 5th room. And the Home Depot person goes, oh, you know what? We can put this in our database. And then when you come in, you just tell us what room and we've got your paint color. And I go, really? You just told me this and I'm on my 5th room. What about those 4 previous rooms? And I already threw those paint tickets away and the label on the can got paint over it, so I can't read it. So just some ideas. I think your product looks really good. And then as soon as you get that, the tips and reminders ready, I would definitely target that because I think that's a huge thing for the existing homeowners.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks, Erin.
You're welcome.
Katie, I jumped in a little bit late here, so I apologize. But it sounds like realtors are kind of that easy, cheap market for you to spread the word. And I believe most realtor associations have to do, or every realtor in the state of Minnesota has to do continuing education. And so if you could do like an inspection CE or something like that, and then tell them about your product, and I'm guessing they would all bring you in, even maybe pay you to get that CE. And then you can tell them about the app and run from there. But that would be my suggestion there, is to offer continuing education to local agents and then just travel around spreading the word.
Awesome. Thanks.
Katie, one other potential suggestion in getting the word out to existing homeowners. Since part of this, I think there's valuable things that homeowners do through sweat equity. And I wonder how that's displayed in the home, app, if it's something, that is valuable through that, like painting your home and having the exact paint color. That's a great suggestion from Erin, if that's a possibility. But there's also, if it's a project that should be done with a residential contractor, the fact that it's done with one is a huge selling point. So that could be something that you work with residential contractors on, is see, are they willing to say, hey, and thank you for working with us. If you want to be able to prove to your next homeowner that you worked with us, here's this app.
Right. And like the big dream, the entrepreneurial dream, is to make HomeFAX like CarFAX. Mm-hmm. And around the same time that I bought my house, I went in for an oil change or something, and they're like, oh, according to our records, you had this done. And I was like, I had that done in Colorado. How do you know about that? And so CarFAX has like grown into, whenever even just a mom and pop shop does an oil change, they report it to CarFAX. And so the entrepreneurial dream is that we have an integration with all of these, home builders, contractors, that they can post the information to our app. And then that way the homeowner doesn't even have to do it, because in the end of the day, if I got an app that had, who blew out the sprinklers last fall and how much was it, I would call that person, because I'd be like, wow, that seems like a reasonable price, and you already know the house. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time trying to get another contractor out here. So that would be like the ultimate dream, is that we have some type of interface to do it. And, we've been working on this for 2 years, versus CarFAX has been around since like the 80s. So I'm giving myself a little bit of time. Like, first, obviously, we have to make the app work. And then the dream is that, these big places like Benjamin Franklin Electrical or Jens Ryan Plumbing or whoever, that they all somehow are able to report the information directly to the app, and then the homeowner doesn't have to do it.
Gary, Leah, and then Erin again.
Hey, Katie, very interesting product, and I love organization, and I also value for my home hunting having information there so I know what's happened, and perhaps a lead-in, just as you gave your example, that would build awareness of HomeFAX and also educate the new buyer, is maybe in some way either through the realtor, or maybe it's doing a YouTube video. I don't know what's on the market. Maybe there's probably something there, but kind of help educating the new buyer what to look for. Ask questions of the seller, how much DIY work you've done, looking for the manuals. So, and asking some of those questions that I gotta believe most first-time buyers, you get enamored with, man, it's a great location. I like that room or whatever, and you forget about some of those foundational things until after you buy it and you're there and say, geez, it's got a cracked foundation. Geez, what do I do? Okay. So educating them and having a, HomeFAX, tips. So it'd be a lead in and help kind of raise the awareness of the buyer. Hey, it probably is good to know this maintenance stuff. Oh, and oh, by the way, here's a tool to do that. So whether you have, the realtor kind of open up and you give a new buyer seminar, that's probably not as likely, or more likely, or have a handout, a tip sheet, or then even get to a YouTube video. I think everybody says, I got a problem, I'll go to YouTube and I'll find a video on it. So if you had something like that was engaging and say, hey, first time buyer, blah blah blah, and this has come from HomeFAX, check us out, it would be a good marketing lead in, would seem.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Leah and then Aaron, and then I'm just noting we're past the 9 o'clock mark, but we only have one presenter today, and we're having great discussion. So I'm just going to let this go until discussion dies down. So again, we have Leah.
Well, Katie, I was going to say in terms of maybe a next marketing after maybe some development with the realtors and even maybe builders in that sense, because they have trade shows and things that you could maybe attend, is there's a lot of entities for sure in the metro, but even, outstate rural areas that do a home buyer training and education, and are specifically organizations that target first-time home buyers of color and different stuff like that. So it might be a nice connection to get in touch with some of those organizations. And I can definitely send you some from my past work, but they're really about trying to educate the homeowner and is saying this is a tool maybe to first look up the house, but then it's secondary. If you're starting out, it's a good way for you to basically maintain the information, and essentially it's not building equity, but it's probably going to help with the equity of your house in that sense. So I would say maybe look at those entities that really, again, try to work with first-time home buyers. And then another avenue to potentially existing homeowners was maybe reaching out to homeowners associations. Again, not all are a townhouse structure that might pay for the replacement of the roof, but some can be individual single family houses and stuff like that. They just still maintain an association within that. So it might be a way to access a group of homeowners versus individual ones. Again, it's just picking off a bigger part of the pie versus, again, direct marketing to one person. So that's
that is another reason why we, as you mentioned, the homeowner first-time home buyer education, like there's a ton of apps out there to get you to buy a house. Like how much house can you afford? And, it's all about the mortgage and how much money we can get you to dump into, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we can get you to dump into property. But after that, they're just saying, okay, good luck. There's no, as we said, there's no checklist about what you should do. There's no, so what's nice about it too, when you're looking at the HomeFAX before you even buy the house, you can see that, the previous owner spent an average of $2,000 per year on home maintenance. So like now I know when I buy this house, it's not just I make my mortgage payments and I'm done. My mortgage, my insurance, my taxes, whatever. But now I know too exactly what the previous people were spending on it. And if the house is in good care, then I know I need to keep that up. If the house is not in good care, then I might have to double that or triple it. And I'm knowing that before I buy the house, and now I can keep track of it thereafter too. So I'm one of those people that believes in sweat equity, and I try and do a lot myself too, but I also know when to call a contractor. And so it's nice to have those, just that information out there of not only educating first-time home buyers about maintenance, like what needs to be done and what you can do yourself. Like I can easily change my own furnace filter. I don't need to pay someone to do it for me. But having those first-time home buyers know what they should think about spending on their house each month or each year, and being able to budget for that. And then I like data, and it's kind of fun, and I like to think I'm very frugal. So even if I saw that the previous homeowner spent $2,000 a year, it's probably more like $5,000 a year in maintenance, I'm going to say, okay, how much of that can I do myself, and can I spend less than them and get the same results? And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's kind of, there's so many different facets you can take this concept, and it's really fun, especially in the entrepreneurial community, to talk about it, because there really are so many different opportunities that you can do with this. And it's funny that there's no apps out there, like competition wise. I mean, we haven't found anything. There's a couple of companies that will give you just a list of permits that were pulled, and I'm like, why do I have to pay you $100 I can go down to the city and get this data? So we are so there's just a lot of cool things that you can do with it. And since we have like what your house is made up of with the MLS data, we have all of your appliances, so we're not going to tell someone who owns a condo, hey, it's time to trim your shrubs. They're going to be like, no thanks. I don't know what you're talking about. But we can customize those tips directly to the homeowner, because we know exactly what their home is. And if you're in Florida, you're not going to get information about draining your spigots in the wintertime. You're just going to get Florida stuff, if that makes sense.
Aaron has a referral suggestion. Aaron, I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on that. And then we have Yvonne after that.
Just for the existing homeowners, if you started reaching out to appliance sellers, I mean, maybe when they hand the receipt, they could hand you a business card or a pamphlet or something so that they see that or even mention it. So
yeah,
maybe a simple way to reach out to existing homeowners. And also like heating or air, they definitely sell those water softeners and the furnaces or even fireplaces. So anybody that sells something like that for the home might be a partner for just a business card or a pamphlet. Or also, how somebody else mentioned like doing classes. I don't know if any of those places offer, little workshops, but maybe you could do a workshop with those kind of places if they do that kind of stuff. So
definitely.
That was it.
Yvonne.
Yeah, just feeding off of what she just said, Partners for Affordable Housing, they do home ownership training. And then I just wanted to talk about the marketing and how you tell your story. As you're talking to us, you're telling us stories. You're telling us little vignettes, right? Storytelling is really compelling. And what you might think about is, as you're working on your app, picking the feature it does best and come up with a little vignette, a little story that you can either do in video or text and tell, that compellingly explains why this is such a valuable thing for people. Maybe it's the water heater thing, right? And if that's the main thing that the app does well, is that it reminds you about home maintenance tips, then come up with a little story where, a young homeowner who's just gotten their first house, right? And then their phone goes, ping, it's time to change the water filter or the air filter or whatever, and saves them all sorts of money. Or, and the alternative is the homeowner next door who bought their house and their water heater just broke down because they didn't do the thing, But pick one at a time. The other thing I want to reflect on is that as you're talking, you've got a lot of different features. And so you're kind of pinging from one thing to the other, so I would pick one at a time, focus on that, really sell that. And then, and it also does this, and then really sell that. And, kind of roll them out as new features, as new amazing things. You could even do them as phases and things that you roll out to people rather than here it does 15 different things. If the app currently is best at a situation where you're selling your house and you need to convey information to the new buyer, and that's your primary audience for your target market, then I wouldn't talk about the home maintenance reminder thing. Gotcha. Just talk about the, key in on the thing that it does best, that it does well now. Mm-hmm. And then you can always tell those other stories later. You're right. So excited, your enthusiasm and your excitement of all the features that you've planned is really great, but it can be confusing for the listener. Mm-hmm. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
There's a couple of suggestions in chat here. I did want to jump in with a question that I had that hasn't been brought up yet. When you talked about your monetization strategy, it's really built around the day that the home is sold, which means the users of your app, aren't going to provide you with any money for the next couple of years. So just curious on what other monetization strategies are you looking at or have you considered that can support you in the immediate future?
So that's a great question. So on average, just in the Twin Cities, according to our MLS, there's sorry, let me find that again. There are approximately 90,000 transactions a year. And so if we just got, 20% of that market share of the realtors getting their customers to engage in the app, then that's roughly $2.8 million in revenue. So that's just in Minneapolis. And then I have some contacts in other states like Nebraska. We're doing a hardcore. We have realtors that are piloting it already, and I'm working on Colorado right now. So even though that the initial, if we're to gauge a home buyer now, they might not provide a lot of income to us right away for a couple years or 20 years or however long. But there's so many transactions that currently happen in the US, even if you factor in 2007, 8, 9, the average number of transactions is around 5 million a year. So even if we can just get, a couple of those percentage, and then we have a potential to really fund it. There are a lot of people who have income properties, rental properties. So I have a townhouse that I rent out, and being able to take pictures of my receipts as I do work on that house and have them available for tax time. We're thinking that if you claim more than 2 houses, that you would pay an extra monthly fee. So we're thinking about monetizing it that way too, because we don't want someone who owns 10 rental properties to be able to maintain them all for free. But if you have a cabin up in the woods that you want to track, because that's Minnesota. Everyone goes north in the summertime and the wintertime. I think you should be able to track both of the places for free and not necessarily have to pay that extra fee. So those are kind of some ideas about how we thought about monetizing it additionally. If there's, let's say in 10 years, you've got so many pictures, because let's say we talked about painting a room. You can take a picture of the lid can that tells you where you bought the paint from, what the paint is. You can take a picture of the room, so you know what room it was put into. So you can take multiple pictures for each receipt. So those add up as storage as we go down the road. And so having people pay for the extra storage is another way to monetize it too, we were thinking. So there are possibilities out there besides just the transactions and the realtor subscriptions. But as Yvonne mentioned, like picking a focus and staying with it, we decided that the realtors are the cheapest because they're free to advertise with. And getting on the MLS is also free. And then they advertise us to all the realtors. So that was kind of our big focus, was creating a listing report that is helping justify the cost of your house and really separating yourself out from the other houses on the market, that you can show, this is all the work I've done to it. This is how I've maintained it. You should offer me $30,000 over asking because I want that. So that's kind of what the different monetary strategies that we've thought of, but I'm open to if anybody else has thought of anything in our 30 minutes of chatting.
So I see Lindsay, Leah, and then Thomas all have some suggestions that they noted in chat. I'll just pause for each of them to see if they'd like to elaborate on any of their suggestions. So I'll pause for Lindsay if you'd like to elaborate, or if you'd like to just leave what's in chat.
I guess we could elaborate a tiny bit. I just think like trying to get people to use the app, and you were saying that you like the idea of showing that you've saved money from the previous owner. If you could do something where you're like, you know, oh, you just saved 20% versus last year. You just like achieved, like I was thinking about, I use Duolingo and they have all these like achievements you can get when you have a streak or when you unlock something. And so it's kind of like it's gamified it. And so if you could somehow make it so like doing all these things and saving money like gets you to some sort of goal achievement, it might make people more like, oh, I want to, like, what's the reward, you know, like it's, what am I getting out of it? If you can show it to them somehow, like that would be kind of a neat way to make them use it more.
Yeah. So on that, I mean, just your feedback, I guess, we were talking about one of the products is that a home buyer can request a data transfer of the seller's information, and it costs $100. And how do you know that that report is worth $100? So we thought about making a star rating system that says like, hey, you put in 0 receipts, you have no star rating. You did 1 receipt for a light bulb, you have no star rating. You put in your HVAC or your remodeling, you now have a 2-star rating. So we thought about, you know, doing a 5-star rating and maybe notices like, hey, you haven't put in a receipt in this quarter. We know that home maintenance, you have to have at least 1 receipt a quarter, whether it's furnace filters or, you know, your garbage disposal goes out. There's always something that you have to buy. So just like little reminders of that, to, you know, if you want to keep your 5-star rating, you need to do it. But I think that will also get easier once we come up with those reminders about, hey, it's time to do this maintenance. Hey, it's time to do that maintenance. And then that way it will kind of automate it for them. But we want to also make sure that consumers are aware of what they're purchasing before they purchase it. So being able to rate the information is kind of a way to ensure that we don't get a bad name that you just spent $100 and got a light bulb receipt, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think what you would do, like, so what's the reward for 5 stars? Like, I mean, I've got 5 stars, that's great. But if it unlocks some sort of feature that isn't available to somebody who only has 1 star, that might be like, oh, I get 5 stars, I get more storage this week or this month or whatever. Or I get, I don't know if you want to do storage, but just like that kind of like unlocking levels. And then that would be their motivation to keep it because they get something versus someone else who doesn't do it.
That's a great idea.
Awesome. We have time for if Leah wants to elaborate or if Thomas wants to elaborate. We have time for that. And then we won't have time for any more questions as we need to get into some closing comments. But Katie, I'll also have you put your email address into the chat box so that if anyone has any additional feedback beyond what's shared right here or additional questions, they can reach out to you directly. Leah, did you want to elaborate on your comment?
And not too much, just to say that as Yvonne maybe mentioned, if you focus on the realtor piece, if you move maybe into more of that maintenance, maybe Habitat for Humanity might be a nice partnership because they often have new home buyers, and it would be more that maintenance reminder and or helping their new homeowners track their warranties and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
There's also community land trusts, predominantly in the metro. They also might be a nice partnership maybe in the future because again, they predominantly are older homes, so maybe have that maintenance history. And some of them are doing rehab of those properties. So they could be a nice they might be the first entry and then as they transfer to the home buyer.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thomas, did you want to elaborate?
Not too much. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you offer, the one thing for free, and then if there's a more in-depth usage, you can charge them the $1 a month type of fee or something like that, something so nominal that people don't think twice about it. The one thing that I'd maybe hesitate, if they have multiple rental properties, and more than likely, if they have 10 rental properties or something like that, they probably already use a software to track all of their receipts and things like that. So I wouldn't spend too much time going after that market, because their accountant they're probably doing this more of a full-time job and they have those tools already in place. So I would actually go more for the 1 to 2 property person that doesn't have a full-time accounting person helping them manage the properties. That might be that niche a little bit better than the person who owns 80 properties or something like that. So that's
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for some great discussion. We will go into the dice roll, but before we do that, there have been a lot of great suggestions shared in chat, and there may have been some private messages. And again, Katie should be sharing her email here shortly if you'd like to do that, Katie.